The story that you're about to watch is a story about hope, about courage, about determination, and about persistence. It's about belief. On my journey, I had a first-hand encounter with Jesus, and ultimately those teachings brought me to my healing. This isn't my story to tell, it's everyone's story. And my hope that by sharing it, it ignites a hope, and it ignites a determination, and it ignites a need to never give up on your healing and finding wholeness in yourself. Because you can live a pain and disease-free life. I've dedicated my life now to coaching and helping others live this life and get their lives back. And my mission is to collectively wake up the consciousness of this human existence that our minds can heal our bodies within seconds, but we just need to learn how to get out of the way. And ultimately that's what this story is about, getting out of the way. But the choice is yours.
In 2012, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease called ankylosing spondylitis. At the time, I was pursuing a career as a professional film and TV actor. I was in the gym training for a role when 2 days after I started to experience back and leg pain. At first, I thought nothing of it, and I carried on as normal. But the pain began to get worse. That evening, I went to stand up to greet my brother at the door, and suddenly my body fell and collapsed to the floor in agony. I was rushed to the emergency. He took x-rays. My x-ray showed visible signs of a herniated disc and other abnormalities in my spine. Once I got this diagnosis, my symptoms got worse. I was referred to a rheumatologist who urged me to take a blood test. The blood test came back and it showed a genetic autoimmune disease called ankylosing spondylitis, as well as arthritis in my spine and inflammation in my joints and my feet. He told me that the blood test revealed a genetic gene called HLA-B27, and people who have this gene have the disease. He told me that I had to go on medications for the rest of my life. He told me that my spine would fuse, and even the fittest people with this disease are unable to do any physical activity and usually end up in a wheelchair or worse. He told me that there was no cure. I did the right thing by seeking help. He did the wrong thing by filling me with fear and disconnecting my mind from my body at the time of the diagnosis, while not giving me permission to heal. From that moment, I knew I was on my own. After this, I went on a wild chase to fix myself. I tried acupuncture, massage, chiropractors, Reiki, medical intuitives, physiotherapy, ozone injection therapy, ayahuasca. I tried various diets. I went to a naturopath thinking that it must be the food. I took an IgA food sensitivity test, and it showed that I was allergic to more than 90 different foods. She told me that my body was getting inflamed by these foods, and that once I cut them out, the pain would stop. That didn't work either, and my symptoms got worse. Over the next 6 years, the pain and other symptoms became an obsession. They ruled my every waking thought. Pain was the first thing I thought about in the morning, and the last thing I dreaded at night. I felt constantly fatigued, sick, depressed, and I was always thinking that my body was slowly dying. My career, relationships, and life were slowly slipping away from my hands like hot quicksand. And all I could do was sit back and watch. During this time, my brother ironically began to experience similar symptoms. For him, it all started with a blood test as well. His test showed elevated levels of mercury. He began to experience tinnitus ringing in his ears, sciatica. His x-ray showed fractures, herniated discs, and he also had IBS and other symptoms. Doctors kept telling him his spine was damaged, and herniations, fractures, bulging discs, and other abnormalities were the cause. We both made a promise to each other that if our pain got too much to bear and we wanted to pull the plug on life, that we'd call each other first. Many of those calls happened, but we refused to be a victim of our diagnosis and kept searching. And ultimately, we found a way out. My journey took me on a path of self-discovery and teachings on the mind-body connection. I began to discover that my symptoms were there to protect me from unconscious repressed emotions that were too painful for me to feel consciously. I began to see that the pain was there as a helper, a guide to my truth. I began to see that my effort to try to endlessly fix myself physically was actually a distraction from myself emotionally, and another way for me to keep running away from these painful emotions, to run away from my cure. I healed by realizing that my mind and body are interconnected to physical pain and disease. I healed myself by being honest with how I truly feel in each moment. I had to completely take my awareness off of any physical pain or any diagnosis and focus solely on the emotions, thoughts, beliefs, personality traits, and past anger I harbored from childhood. I had to say sorry to the part of my sensitive self that I denied the world for far too long. I had to forgive the part of myself that I rejected. At times, the emotions and sensations were so intense that I just wished and prayed that the pain would just come back. I healed by taking full responsibility for what was happening in my body and had to stop being a victim in any way. I healed by loving myself again and completely trusting and surrendering control to the unfolding moment. The pressure I put on myself to become a world-renowned actor was only ruling my need of not being good enough and loved. And when I didn't succeed in acting the way that I wanted, the drill sergeant in my head was there ready to abuse me. Eventually, that internal abuse took its toll, and my body said no. I healed myself of all of these incurable symptoms without the use of medication, diet, rehab, surgeries, and other restrictive therapies. My brother also did the same thing. We shared the same pain, but ultimately, our pain was our healing. It was a gift. During my journey, someone told me that my symptoms could be emotionally caused. At the time, I laughed and said, "No, it's physical pain. I know my body. I'm a personal trainer." It would take me another 4 years to come back and listen to what this person had to say. After I listened, my body healed within weeks and all of my symptoms went away. At the time, I wasn't ready to hear it. If this resonates with you, and you feel trapped in a diagnosis and your life is full of pain, disease, fear, and confusion, I want to tell you something. Whatever is happening right now is happening for you, not to you. You just have to come back to this part of yourself that has been waiting there this whole time. And I want to tell you something else. There is a way out, and you just have to take the journey. The choice is yours.